China was going to be Sri Lanka's benefactor. 60,000 crores sunk from a stake in India. Now the dragon is beating the drum of losses. Hello friends, have you ever thought that the country that traps other countries in its own trap by giving them financial aid can itself be trapped by the same aid? Have you ever imagined that China, which had invested billions of dollars to take the small countries of Asia under its influence for decades, is now entangled in its own net? China's diplomacy has only been one way: give money, gain influence, and then when the country becomes economically weak, run it on your terms. But this time China's game has turned upside down. A bet of India has completely failed China's strategy. Sri Lanka, which was once trying to get out of its economic crisis on the strength of China's money, has now given a shock to China with the help of India. As a result, China has suffered a huge loss of around 60,000 crore rupees. Now the whole game of the dragon has been spoiled and China is not understanding what was the fault behind this defeat. Today we will discuss this topic in depth. But before that, if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you will be the first to get our new video updates. So let's go. We know how this whole game started and how India destroyed China's plans with one of its bets. China has been trying to increase its influence in the countries of South Asia for the last 2 decades. After Pakistan and Nepal, China planned to trap Sri Lanka in its net. China wanted to take Sri Lanka under its control financially by trapping it in debt. This strategy of China was also working. Sri Lanka borrowed heavily from China. China had helped Sri Lanka with billions of dollars for port, infrastructure, railway and many other projects. But China's intention behind this help was to maintain dominance over Sri Lanka. China wanted Sri Lanka to remain under its influence and prefer China over India. China encouraged its companies to invest in Sri Lanka to attract Sri Lanka. Apart from the Hambantota port, China has funded highways, railways, airports and many large infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka. The purpose of this funding from China was to trap Sri Lanka in its debt trap and bring it into its economic slavery. China started investing heavily in Sri Lanka since 2007. The biggest project was Hambantota Port. China gave Sri Lanka billions of dollars in loans for the construction of this port. China's strategy was that when Sri Lanka became unable to pay its debts, it would get a chance to seize this port. The same happened. Sri Lanka was completely unable to repay the loan it had taken from China for this project. As a result, Sri Lanka's Hambantota port had to be handed over to China on a 99-year lease. It was a great victory for China. China feels that it has trapped Sri Lanka in its net forever. But after this victory of China, India entered the game. India reached out to help Sri Lanka. India supplied Sri Lanka with medical supplies, fuel and foodstuffs. Apart from this, India provided financial assistance of 32,000 crore rupees to Sri Lanka. India gave this help unconditionally. This started to change the attitude of Sri Lankan leaders. Sri Lanka has set new terms for restructuring its debt with China. Sri Lanka has made it clear that it is no longer ready to follow China's terms. In addition, Sri Lanka told China that it will repay the debt only if China gives it loan restructuring facilities. In compulsion, China had to accept this proposal of Sri Lanka. China has waived Sri Lanka's debt of around 60,000 crore rupees. China was deeply shocked by this loss. The money that China had invested in the infrastructure of Sri Lanka was not getting any benefit. China's rights over Hambantota port remained, but Sri Lanka took control of all other projects with the help of India. India invested in many important infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka, which increased the confidence of Sri Lankan leaders in India. Sri Lanka's official newspaper, Daily News, quoted China's ambassador 𝐻𝐻𝐿 as saying that China did not expect this loss. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 said that Sri Lanka has broken the trust of China. But China still wants to keep with Sri Lanka. The Chinese ambassador even said that he is ready to work jointly with India for the development of Sri Lanka. However, China's compulsion was clearly visible behind this proposal. China knew that if it did not support Sri Lanka, then India would gain complete influence over Sri Lanka. There was no chance of China getting its loan money back. The strategy that China had prepared through Hambantota port, it completely failed due to a bet of India. India has defeated China in this game in such a way that it may take years for China to recover. Also, India made a strategic move against China. India started trading with Sri Lanka in rupees. This relieved Sri Lanka's dollar shortage. India signed new agreements with Sri Lanka for food supply and petroleum supply. India assured Sri Lankan leaders that it would continue to help them unconditionally. This strengthened Sri Lanka's trade relations with India. This was the biggest shock for China. China's economic pressure on Sri Lanka has completely weakened in front of India's strategy. China suffered heavy losses from its investment. Sri Lanka took a tough stance against China and said that it will advance its economic policy with the help of India. China is now trying to recover from this loss. China knows that if Sri Lanka falls completely under the influence of India, it will be difficult for it to maintain its influence in South Asia. The biggest challenge facing China now is how to keep Sri Lanka away from India. This stake of India has not only caused economic damage to China, but also weakened its strategic position. China's dream of taking Sri Lanka away from India and taking it under its control has now been completely destroyed. India has defeated China in this game in such a way that it will take years for China to recover.
If you like our content and want to make our efforts even stronger, you can support us through the QR code given in the video or the UPI ID given in the description. Your every small contribution is valuable to us and will inspire us to make even better and informative videos. Your support is our strength. Also, if this video taught you something new or you felt that this information should reach others as well, then do not forget to like and share the video. If you have any questions or suggestions in mind, then do let us know in the comments. We look forward to answering your every question and listening to suggestions. And yes, if you want to stay updated with our every new video in the future, then subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you get every new information first. GRT Business always strives to give you accurate and reliable information. Our news is obtained from various news agencies, public opinion, and public sources. We try our best to verify every report, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our sole aim is to provide you with accurate and reliable information.